offset printing press is a remarkably useful invention for producing printed materials. The successful operation of the offset press depends upon the expertise of skilled craftsmen and technicians. Typesetters operate the machines which produce the type used in printing. Many manufacturers produce machines for typesetting. Most of the typeset today utilizes video display terminals in conjunction with computers and photo typesetting units. Image assemblers paste up the type and illustrations for the printing job. Film assemblers assemble the pieces of film that will be used for a job on a single base so that the printing plates can be made. Stripping procedures vary according to size and complexity and the printing process which will be used to print the job. The offset pressman's job can be made easier if quality control and standardized procedures are used during film assembly. Camera operators photograph the type and other line copy and illustrations necessary for production of the job. They reproduce continuous tone photographs and artwork according to the requirements of the printing process to be used. Scanner operators produce color separations bypassing the darkroom camera. Plate makers produce the plates that are mounted on the printing presses. Rigid quality control is required during the plate making process. A wide variety of manufacturers produce offset plates in a range of sizes corresponding to the standard sizes of printing presses. The type of plate selected depends on the material to be printed, the quality desired, and the number of copies required. Press operators print the job. The skills of all these people are necessary to produce a quality printed product. The offset press allows high-speed reproduction of printed materials based on the discovery by Alois Senfelder in 1798 that oily or greasy substances do not readily mix with water, and that printing can be done from a surface which has an affinity for water in non-printing areas, while areas to be printed repel water and accept a specially prepared lithographic ink that also repels moisture. Moisture repels ink in non-printing areas, the light portions of the plate, and printing ink is accepted by the image areas, the dark areas on the plate. This simple principle that offset ink and water do not readily mix is employed daily by offset press operators on small offset duplicators, larger sheet-fed presses, and roll-fed web presses. The operation of offset printing presses can be best understood if analyzed from the standpoint of the major functions of these presses. Major functions are paper feeding, registration, inking, dampening, printing, and delivery. Presses must have some type of feeder to feed paper. Most use air blast and suction, and there should be controls to adjust the amount of air blast and suction for feeding paper. Registration mechanisms to position the paper include side guides, headstops, and feed-in rollers. The printing system is composed of plate, blanket, and impression cylinders. The plate cylinder holds the plate during printing. A blanket cylinder transfers the printing ink from the plate onto the material to be printed. The impression cylinder presses the blanket against the paper to transfer the image onto paper. If a good, sharp, crisp image is not transferred to the paper, inspect the blanket to determine if there is a good image transfer. If not, make the necessary adjustments between the plate and blanket. If there is a good plate to blanket transfer, make the necessary adjustments between the blanket and the impression cylinder. The inking system consists of an ink fountain for holding ink and for metering ink according to the need of the materials being printed, and a roller arrangement which distributes the ink on the press. Controls raise and lower ink rollers. Many methods are used to apply moisture to a printing plate. Moisture can be sprayed on the plate before the ink is applied, or the moistening solution can be run in with the ink. The method illustrated here uses covered dampening rollers to apply moisture. This conventional dampening system has a water fountain for storing the water mixture. The system keeps non-printing areas of the plate clean. A roller arrangement with a ratchet adjustment meters water to the printing plate. Controls raise and lower water rollers to the plate. The system shown here is one of many designed to apply moisture to the plate by running fountain solution onto the ink form roller. The delivery system is the sheet delivery mechanism for stacking printed sheets. Both tray and chain deliveries are used. Two power on and off switches cause the press and vacuum pump to operate. To learn to run the offset press, an operator should first learn about the feeding system and how to make all the adjustments necessary to properly feed paper. The operator should practice setting the feeder adjustments for various sizes and thicknesses of stock. The paper stack side guide should be moved to position paper in proper relation to the image on the printing plate. The guide should hold the paper in position but should not bind the sides of the paper stack. The back paper stops are set in the same manner. The multiple sheet detector should be set so that one sheet will be fed, but if more are fed, they will be prevented from entering the printing unit, which could cause blanket damage and disrupt quality. The paper pull-out rollers, which take the sheet from the sheet suckers, need to be adjusted firmly and evenly. Each sheet should feed squarely to the head stops. The side guide should move over and push each sheet at least 1/16 of an inch. If the sheet does not feed squarely to the head stop and the side guide does not push each sheet, the job will not be in register. Air blast should separate the top few sheets in the feeder. Just enough suction should be used to pick up the top sheet. The height of the paper stack, regulated by the pile height adjustment, is set so that there is enough clearance between the suction feet and the top of the sheet to require the sheet to move up to meet the suction feet. Experienced press operators can actually hear this sound of the suction as it picks up the sheet, and they will lower the pile height if they cannot hear it. An old plate may be installed on the press in order to practice feeding. Practice should continue until it is understood how problems arise and are corrected. It is counterproductive to attempt to operate the press before paper feeding has been mastered. Here we are intentionally showing problems that can occur while feeding paper. These problems relate to the adjustments of side guides, air blast, suction, and paper pull-out roll pressure. After the operator is thoroughly familiar with paper feeding, the press may be set up for printing. Ink should be put in the ink fountain and the fountain keys set to meter out an even film of ink. Larger image areas of the plate will need a greater than average amount of ink. Notice how ink should be removed from the container. The ratchet must be set so that the fountain roller will turn with each press revolution and keep an adequate supply of ink on the rollers. On most presses, the keys are adjusted so that the ratchet can be moved in either direction to increase or decrease overall ink flow and to achieve a balanced supply of ink. The ink fountain ratchet should be turned off while the dampening system is prepared. A moistening fountain solution should be mixed according to manufacturer's directions and placed in the water fountain. A solution with a pH of 4.5 will usually produce good printing results. The press should be turned on and should continue to run until enough water is on the dampener roller covers to moisten the plate and keep non-image areas clean. The ratchet is set to meter just enough fountain solution to keep the plate clear. The water fountain ratchet is usually set on notch 2 or 3. Protective plate gum is cleaned from the plate surface and the plate is pre-etched with water fountain solution. The press should be turned on to lower the water rollers to the plate. This machine has a single lever to control dampening, inking, and impression. Position 1 is for dampening. Allow the water roller to contact the plate. Inspect the plate, and when it is moist, turn the ink fountain on and lower the ink rollers to position 2 with the single lever control. To diagnose an imbalance of ink and water, the plate and the printed sheets are checked. If there is not enough ink, the printed image will appear light. If there is not enough water, the plate will begin to scum. This can be demonstrated by turning the water off while leaving the ink rollers on. When the water roller again contacts the plate, the scum should disappear. If there is too much ink, the printing image will not be sharp, and small non-printing spaces may fill with ink. If there is too much water, the printing image will not pick up an adequate supply of ink, as illustrated by these lightly printed images. Even with the proper amount of moisture, too much ink may cause the plate to scum. After the ink and moisture have been balanced, the press operator should check the position of the image on the paper, check for good transfer of the image to the paper, and set the sheet delivery, which may be a chain or tray delivery. The job can be printed when all the necessary adjustments have been made. To clean a small press after the job is printed, the excess ink is removed from the ink fountain. The press operator has 3 options for cleaning the ink rollers. An absorbent cleanup sheet can be installed on the plate cylinder. While the water rollers are locked in the off position, the ink rollers are lowered to contact the absorbent sheet. Solvent applied slowly to the ink rollers while the press runs causes the ink on the rollers to flow to the absorbent sheet. The press may also be cleaned by installing a cleanup attachment which operates closely against one of the press rollers. As the cleanup squeegee cleans the roller, ink and solvent from the other rollers in the system flow to the clean roller, eventually resulting in the removal of ink from the inking system. The wash-up attachment should be cleaned after each use. Another way is to remove enough rollers from the press to allow access to the remaining rollers in the system with a wiping rag and solvent. When the press is clean, the rollers that were removed are replaced in their former positions in the press. Proper safety procedures are important in all industrial operations. Safety regulations should be followed at all times. Safety hazards are present when equipment is operating. Horseplay should not be permitted around machinery. Gears, belts, and nip points should be guarded. Press covers should be left in place on the press. Loose clothing and jewelry should not be worn around the press. Long hair can get caught in moving parts. Operators should keep clear of moving mechanisms. Stop the press if dangerous adjustments must be made. Cleanup rags should not be used near moving parts. A machine should not be turned on until everyone in the work area has been warned. Unauthorized personnel must not be permitted to operate equipment. Be wary of electrical hazards. Remove all tools and spare parts before turning equipment on. And please work safely. This video cassette should provide learners with the basis for operating a small press when the press is in good condition and few press adjustments are needed.